everyone, and welcome to today's event. My name is Madeline, and I am the president of Pre-Med CC, a student-led organization established in the fall of 2021. Our goal as an organization is to create an online program for pre-medical students at community colleges and universities with the purpose of guiding the next generation of diverse and inclusive physicians. We know how challenging it is to find guidance and mentorship, especially in the middle of a global pandemic. And while we advertise our events as being for community college students, our events are open to anyone. We realize that finding mentorship in a pre-med journey can be especially difficult for those that are first generation, people that lack financial resources, or just those that do not know anyone in the medical field. And one of the best parts about our events is that they are virtual, so you can do them from the comfort of your own home. We typically have events on Fridays from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, and on Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you aren't able to attend, don't worry, because all of our sessions are uploaded onto our YouTube channel. Many of our sessions will end with a Q&A with our speakers, and any questions that you have can be put into the Q&A section on Zoom, and our team members will read them and have them answered. After you have attended our event, you can log onto our website and complete the quiz, which will contain questions pertaining to today's event. If you score 70% or higher on the quiz, you will be awarded a certificate to show that you've attended the session today. Students that attend all of our sessions will receive a Pre-Med CC Scholar Award for the hours of mentorship that they have completed. And if you want to stay connected with our upcoming events or tell your pre-med friends about Pre-Med CC, you can find us at any social media website at Pre-Med CC. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. Today we are honored to have Dr. Marco Angulo. Dr. Angulo has always known that his life purpose was to serve communities like the one that he grew up in. After graduating high school, he attended East Los Angeles Community College and transferred to and subsequently graduated from the University of California, Berkeley, with a degree in Chicano studies. He entered medical school at University of California, Irvine, and participated in the program for medical education for the Latino community, also known as the Prime LC program, which was created to develop physician leaders to address health disparities in the United States and beyond. Dr. Angulo stayed on as faculty member at the UCI Family Medicine Department, where he served as the Director of Diversity and Inclusion for the medical school, and also as the Director of the Prime LC program. He now serves as a core faculty member of AltaMed's Family Medicine Residency program. Thank you very much for joining us today, Dr. Angulo.
Thank you. No, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate being here. Wow, we got a good group here. Oh my goodness, I'm impressed and nervous. My God, and I just if we can, I love using the chat here just to get to know people here. If you can, yeah, I'm assuming everybody is on their pathway to medicine. Maybe we have some physicians here. Maybe we have people that are in nursing pathway. Can you put just who's represented here? Like Angelica Marquez put so then I'll put from my community college, I went to East LA College, just give a shout out. I just want to see where everybody is. If you're available on the chats, that would be great. Or where you're at. Madeline, you would put UCLA, right? Glendale Community College. There you go. Fresno State. Oh my goodness. ELAC, UC Davis. I love that. Oh my goodness. So we got Merced College, a postback from East Bay. Hey, there's a few ELAC here. That's awesome. Oh, that's great. So the last thing I promise that I'll have you do, I think this is something for us that we really need to start visualizing. And Madeline, when you introduced me, I always just kind of step back and like, who is that person? I'm like, I have no idea who that person is. And I think, when we have our CV or however, everything is all the things that we've accomplished in our life, but yet all the blood and the sweat and the tears that went into this whole journey gets left on the floor, right? We never put it into our CVs, but we always remember what that felt like. I always remember what it felt like going through ELAC, going through, transferred to Berkeley, and the sense of man, am I ever going to make this? Am I going to make this journey? Is it going to be possible that I could become a physician? Could I do my dream? And having that, just that insecurity, I guess, and the feeling like, your family members are telling you like, come on, if the time is running out, you got to start getting in there. You're getting old now. And, maybe you getting an old exam back and you're like, oh my God, I did so bad. My career's over. So being a pre-health person, these are the things for me that I always remember. And all the people that have helped me, in my career get through these times. What I can assure you, and I could promise you, and I could bet my MD on 100%, is that if this is what you want to do, if this is where you want to go, it is going to happen for you. 100%. It is going to happen for you. It won't happen magically. It'll happen because you put in the work. And I've never met someone that hasn't put in the work, that hasn't gone off to medical school, graduate school, nurse practitioner school, whatever they wanted to do. With that being said, we need to start visualizing it. So the last thing I was going to ask is, see how my name says Marco Angulo, MD on there? I'm wondering and hoping on your names, I know you can change your names. I would love for you to put the degree that you want, that you're pursuing, that you want to do. So somebody said 83% MD, put that at the end of your name. So Annie Lynn, I'm looking at Annie. Annie, if you could change that, put a comma and whatever the degree you want on there. Ashleen, you too. Ashleen Martinez, I see you on there. Comma, whatever it is you want to do. PhD if you want. But I need you to start visualizing this, and I'll give you guys a few seconds to do that. Jasmine Ray, Ann Rosa Flores, MD. I love that. All right. Now, I don't know if you know this, but there is a huge shortage of providers, physicians, nurses that we have to. We're in big trouble now, and we have just an enormous amount of patients. I think what COVID taught us is that we need more physicians, we need more nurses, we need more workforce, healthcare workforce, and it's definitely going to be something that we need to develop that. So I'm going to show you something, and it's a want ad, and I want to talk about this want ad, and I want to see if this is something that fits for you, and it's something that you'd be. So I'm right now, I work for AltaMed Health Services, and we need you here. We want to have you as physicians. Let's talk about this, okay? And see if this fits for you. And it does. If it's an NP that you want to do, you could also providers wanted, But I'm going to tell you right now, NPs and PAs, when you walk into a room, the patient's going to say, "That's my doctor." So this is a broad term that we're going to be using, right? So if you don't mind, let's go through this. So this is what we're looking for. This is what your patients are looking for. So must have self-confidence, must be knowledgeable and willing to be a lifelong learner. This is absolutely the number one quality a patient is seeing in their provider. It is reassuring to know that someone that's qualified is actually not only in the driver's seat, right next to the patient, coaching that patient all the way through. The ability to know where your limits are, and also just say, I don't know the answers, but I know where to get them. And this is what let's make sure that we're taking care of you. So the next one is must be extremely intelligent, a problem solver, being comfortable with knowing the answers, but once again, knowing the ability, if you don't have the answer, where to get that. Must be a hard worker. Must have a love for biology, must have a fascination for science. So this is going to be your bread and butter. This is going to be for the rest of your life. You're going to be doing science for the rest of your life. Excellent test taking skills. You will be inundated with exams from now through your undergraduate years, Mcats, if in nursing NCLEX, board exams, and board recertifications all throughout your year. Must have a steady hand. I mean, you could be a brain surgeon, and knowing that you have the memory of someone in your hand. If you go left instead of right, you could erase someone's memory. But if you do it the right way, then you can actually remove that tumor that needs to be removed without damaging the person's memory, or repairing a leaky heart valve in an elderly woman's heart, or even placing stitches on a 5-year-old, and you don't want your artwork to ever be seen, because that 5-year-old, you don't want them with that scar for the rest of their lives. Strong leadership skills. You will be automatically looked upon as the person that has the answers, whether you do or not. There's gonna be like, doc, what do we do? What do you want to do about this? Right? Honest and forthright. People are going to say, tell it to me straight, doc. But we have to know the tone to strike and break it down so that patients can understand that tone, and making sure that we're okay with that. Be professional at all times, not just a 9-to-5 job. I'm going to tell you, being a doctor at all times, what that means is I can be going on vacation to Hawaii in the airplane and thinking, oh man, when I get to that beach, Mai Tais is going to be fantastic. And all of a sudden you hear over the speaker, is there a doctor on the plane? I'm like, I'm right here. Let's do this. Let's go. You know, altruistic, selfless, must be empathetic, caring, and compassionate. Have the ability to validate someone's feelings, right? Putting yourself in their shoes to help, and making sure that you felt that they felt that they were understood. Must have the ability to work in a team, must be excellent at collaborative and cooperative work, must be humble, knowing that you are not God, knowing that you can learn from your patients, you can learn from your nurses, your medical assistants, and not shutting them out because you're supposed to be the doctor, you're supposed to be that specialist. Must have humility, being the first to admit your mistakes and always learning from them. Must be passionate about patient care and the health field. This is why we're here for. This is the main thing why we're here. And this is why we wake up in the morning. Must have an excellent communication skills, being able to break down completely complex jargon and making sure that your patients understand everything in a way they can do that. Must have strong listening skills and must be observant. At times, silence is golden. Let me tell you, being able to let our patients express themselves and feel as if they have a voice and they have everything, that they gave you everything. Unbiased and non-judgmental. At times, you may have a patient that doesn't have your belief system. Putting patients first and making sure they get what's right for them. Extreme integrity and high moral standard. Energetic, enthusiastic, warm, friendly, a love for people. This can be completely contagious at a very busy clinic. The staff starts feeling it, the patients start feeling it, everybody's getting better. Man, it's that feel with the music going on too. You know, it doesn't have to be always like, you know, cut and dry. We could have fun in medicine, and must have humor. So it's a long road, you know. Be able to laugh with others and sometimes laugh at yourself, and then just enjoy the journey, you know. So my question to you, now that you've seen this list, is this like a daunting list? Do you see this and you're like, it's a lot. I don't even know if I can do half of those things. Do you meet all those deliverables? Do you feel qualified to be a provider? Are you ready for the next steps? So I'm a firm believer that you're not born with these abilities. These traits are taught and they're learned. They're fostered through our experiences in our mentorship. And you may look at this and say, okay, you know, maybe I'm right here. You know, must have a steady hand. I have one. Strong leadership skills and ability to work as a team. Maybe that's where I'm at. Or must be, I mean, I know that I'm smart, master problem solver, and I work hard. Okay, I got that. Or maybe even must be just passionate about patient care and the health field. And you start there. So I'm a firm believer that these things, once again, are learned. Your training in being a doctor didn't start in medical school. It didn't even start when you decided to start community college, when you decided to start your 4-year university. It started as your childhood, with your childhood experience. It started with your upbringing, and it will continue for the rest of your career. It's something you will work on for the rest of your life. There's a reason why they call it practicing medicine. And you're always striving to be the better person, the better clinician, and the better scientist. So each and every day. And if it's okay with you, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. And I'm absolutely, if there's any questions or anything like that, I'm more than happy to stop and answer any questions. But my name is Marco Angulo. I'm a family medicine doctor, and I have been practicing for 10 years. And I'll tell you, it is the greatest job I've ever had in my entire life. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like Madeline said, I have dedicated my life to service to the underserved community. That's all I think about. I wake up and I think, how could I better my community? I go to sleep and I think the same thing. I have 3 purposes in my life that I live by. And before I tell you that, I want to tell you that I work for the largest community health center in the United States. It's called AltaMed Health Services, and it's a federally qualified health center. So it's actually get a lot of funding from the government to make sure that when patients come in and they don't have insurance, that's okay. I get to see them anyways. I will only work for a place like that. So for me, I have a sharp line where I practice, and I always ask the place, what happens when you have patients that don't have insurance, or what happens when you have patients that are undocumented? Where do they get their treatment? And if the place says, well, we'll treat them once here in the emergency room, but then we'll ship them off to another place where they can, another community health center somewhere along the line, then I want to work in that community health center where they're going to ship them off. Because my 2 parents came from Mexico, and I was born here in the United States, but I want to make sure that everybody has healthcare for all. I want to make sure that we're practicing health equity in the biggest form, and that's why I've dedicated my life to doing this. 3 purposes is I want to be the best husband I can. Number 1, that's it. The best family person. If I'm not doing that, then I'm giving up the other 2. But the second one is I want to serve the medically underserved community. And the third one, and this is where you come in, I want to help train the next generation of doctors to serve the medically underserved population. So if you're on this here and this is what you want to do, I want to help you get to where you want to go, because there is a shortage in the United States of physicians, of nurse practitioners and PAs, nurses. If you, especially in the underserved areas, and if you say, this is definitely where I want to go and I see my heart here, then I want you to get there. So with that being said, I'm an older graduate from medical school. It didn't, I didn't like high school. And that's why I love the community college, the community college feel here, because I almost actually didn't graduate from high school. I did only because my dad, gave me the whole, like, if I came to this country and you can't even graduate from high school, then what was the point of me coming to this country? And I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I ended up with a 2.0 straight up, barely graduating, done with school, thinking I was never gonna enter any school whatsoever. My dad always told me, goes, do you want to work with your hands? Which I do. My dad installed carpeting, linoleum, tile. Or you want to work with your mind? If you want to work with your mind, we'll find out a way of going to school, community college, whatever you want. And he was always supportive of that. And I said, no, Dad, I'm done with that. I want to work with my hands. And the day he said that, okay, then great, let's do it. He thought I was going to go work with him. And I said, no, I want to be a professional musician. I want to play guitar for the rest of my life. So that's what I did. That's me. That was when I was 24, 25 years old.
With hair.
Yeah, I still have it actually. I was a lead guitarist of a band called Romantic Torture. It was a place in my life where um, I was definitely coming to a place where I didn't trust anybody. I was actually losing trust with everybody. You know, my family was getting in my way of my career. My friends were, you know, I wasn't trusting them, and it was a very dark place for me. And I think I realized that I hit rock bottom somewhere where I would be scrounging for change in rehearsal rooms that I was staying in overnight because I was kicked out of my house, to get something to eat, or to, like, you know, making sure that we had enough money to pay the rent for the studio. It was just not a very supportive time in my life for myself. Um, I hit rock bottom, and at the age of 26, someone that really loved me pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you know, you're not a dumb guy. You're a pretty smart guy. You know, there is a way for you to get back to, you know, where you want to go, where you want to be." And there's called community college, and I'll never forget that. And I got to tell you right now, I owe a lot to community college, especially East LA College. So that is a picture of me um, at East LA College. The reason why there's a black stripe right under my name is because our student IDs used to be social security numbers. So, but when I went back to community college, um, I went back full force. I said, you know what? I don't want this life anymore. I think there's something better. I don't know what there is, but let's do it. And my first course that I took was Mexican American Studies, Chicano Studies course. And it just blew my mind. It blew my mind because it taught me things that I've never, in my community, that I never was aware of. I was living it, I was living in it, but it never made it to, like, oh, this is why we're here. This is why my family doesn't have insurance. This is why, right? All of a sudden things started connecting. And I remember hanging out with a group called the Chicanos for Community Medicine, and finding out that, oh my goodness, there's not only in our community, there's a shortage of physicians in our community. And I remember David Hayes Bautista saying that for every, you know, one doctor, there's 100 and something patients, but for every one Latino doctor, there is like 2,000 shortage of patients. And it just blew me away how health disparities could be so skewed, right? So when I went back to school, I actually ended up at the Mesa program, and I found my first person that actually took me under my wing and said, you know what, let's get you all settled in, let's start taking courses. And I actually started doing really well in pre-algebra, in beginning English classes. I had to start all over, you know, because I had that, my foundation wasn't there. Um, and I ended up finding support in these programs. And this is, for me, a big turning point, because I'm like, what are these like the Mesa program, the EOP program? They were all there to support me, and I couldn't believe how amazing it was. And I just wanted to go ahead and give back to that programs. And we built camaraderie with everybody in those programs, and it gave me confidence. And that's when I discovered that the people that were in these programs, they were my coaches. They were people that were coaching me through the process. And I wanted to go ahead and do that with others along the way, because I felt, if I'm getting this, you know, what about other people that are coming through the process? One thing that happened was I transferred over to UC Berkeley, and the first semester there, I got completely destroyed. I barely ended up with a C average, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, my career's over. That's it. I'm done. You know, I had my first D in a class, and I was like, oh my goodness, medical school is not going to accept a D, right? Um, and I, I think once again, I was in programs and I had a coach, and the coach picked me up and said, okay, let's dust you off, and let's see where you go from here, and let's see how you can do this. And for me, that was very special because I knew that this is where I needed to be at the time, but I felt like, is medicine the right thing for me? Am I, am I in too deep? And I remember thinking in my mind when I was taking organic chemistry for the following semester, I'm like, well, what about my community? What about Senora Sanchez, Senor Jimenez, Senor Gutierrez, all the people that I thought that I was going to have as patients? What about them? And then I started getting a purpose in my life saying, oh my God, if I want to serve that community or this community, the one that I grew up in, then I need to actually, I need to actually do these courses and do them really well. So I changed, I ended up getting a purpose in my life, which was Senora Sanchez, Senor Jimenez, Senor Gutierrez. So every single organic chemistry reaction, right? Oxidize, PCC, boom, boom, boom. That's for Senora Sanchez. You know, the Mg cosine theta with the physics, boom. That's for Senor Jimenez. And for me, I was on a different level because I had a purpose. My purpose was to make sure to meet those patients that I was making up in my head because I needed to have that experience to make sure that they were okay, right? And all of a sudden, it went from academic probation to like, oh, now he's on the honor roll, and that for me, that was a changing experience. So when I graduated from UC Berkeley, I ended up applying to medical school, but I stayed on, and then I took 3 years to work in a program at UC Berkeley to really find myself. And after I ended up going to medical school, I went to UC Irvine in the Prime LC program, and it's a program in medical education for the Latino community. It's probably one of the best programs I've ever been a part of, although it was definitely like a fire hydrant coming at you. And then some of the things that I remember about medical school was my white coat ceremony, and having my parents there at the white coat ceremony. And my parents had thought that this would never happen, right? And having them there and being a part of that, those are things that you'll never forget. You know, in surgery, having the cardiothoracic surgeon grab my hands and say, "Here, I want you to feel this human heart in your hands." Um, that that never, I would never dream of doing anything like that. And to have that opportunity and that ability was just the most tremendous feeling, you know. Um, and when a patient in my fourth year of medical school, in an ICU and at the VA, was going to pass away, having all the family members there and being a part of that circle and holding hands and just being together, I think for me was one of the most powerful things. And to be a part of that and to partake in that for me, I would absolutely do it again, all in a heartbeat, just to be a part of this. And I needed to continue to build trust amongst my peers, amongst people that were coaching me through that process. As I went off to graduate, this is one of the happiest days of my life, and it was extremely special because my father had a chance to be a part of it. And match day is when you're going to graduate from medical school and you match into a program for residency, and you go off and you're a doctor and you work, and you go off for 3 to 5 years depending on your specialty. And I've never seen my dad cry. I've never seen him cry. And one of the photographers there caught this picture, And my father is no longer here on this world. He passed away of cancer. But to have that day where, I was like, Dad, why are you crying? He goes, I don't know. I don't know. He goes, it just, you did it. You got through it. Was definitely something special for me. And now, I mean, it's personal. Everything I do is personal. It's something that every single patient, Senora Sanchez, Senora Jimenez, they're all there. They're waiting for me, you know, and they're waiting for you. And it's building that trust. And I gotta tell you, um, I can't get over the fact of when you go into the room, right before you go into the room, and you think about like your whole family, and you think about how am I gonna make this patient, like how am I gonna make it the best day ever for them, right? And you knock on the door and you go in, and then you just listen to that door click on the click, it just shuts. It's just you and that patient. It's just, for me, it's euphoria. I mean, euphoria, because I'm like, this is it. This is why I spent all these, this is why I pulled out all these bio books. This is why I spent all this night doing, you know, and now I'm a coach with them. I'm never a person that says, oh, you didn't take your medication. That's you. Why are you being non-compliant? I'm like, no, I have to meet where that patient is. Maybe they're not ready to hear this news about that they have diabetes. Maybe they're not ready to hear the news that, they have to take another medication. I have to be there for them throughout the process. So that's my job now. That's my job. I'm a doctor and I'm a coach. And I love to coach my patients through the process. I love to give them options. I love to see, like, there's this medication and therapy, or no medication, no therapy, or just therapy. Which one would you want to try? Which one, we're doing this together. And I love that. I always think I feel like I'm in a very special place, and I feel like I want to share it with all of you. I really do. I feel like, man, if I could just wave a magic wand and every one of you come and let's do this, boy, that'd be fantastic, But I don't know. I know it's gonna take us, you and me, a little bit of getting to know each other. So with that being said, I wanted to thank you, and then I wanted to welcome you to the greatest profession, but also wanted to give you my contact number and contact email. I'm going to pull off of this, but I want to go ahead. I'll put my contact in the chat. But I wanted to talk about, and then I'll open up to any questions you have, right? But I wanted to, let's see, stop sharing. Ta-da. All right. So I want to share with you a story, and it's something that for me, it resonates with the type of physician that I want to become, and I'm always striving to. And I'm never going to say that, oh, I am that doc, because I just always want to be striving for that doc, And I talked about my dad a little bit, and he actually in 2004 he had a lot of back pain, really severe back pain. And there was times where he would actually not make it to the restroom, where he would be stuck in the middle from his bed to the restroom because he couldn't move his back. And we're like, something's going on. And 2004, I wasn't even in medical school. There was, I was getting ready to take the Mcat, I think. And I remember that we took him into Kaiser, and they got an X-ray, or they worked him up, and they found some weird cells, blood cells, and they also found an abnormal X-ray, and he was diagnosed with cancer. I remember the exact day was in 2004 was July 4th, which was it's a very specific day because, of course, 4th of July. And we were in the room, and all we heard was that my dad had cancer. And my mom, my dad, my brothers were all in the room waiting. And the nurse would say, "Your doctor will come in and talk to you more about this." Okay, we'll wait. And remember, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock comes, 1 o'clock comes. The doctor will be in a little bit. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4, 5 o'clock. And we're just still like, oh my God, what is it? How much time are we going to have? Is it going to be like a month? Is it going to be, we have no idea. And finally at 5:15, he comes in. And I remember it's my dad's family medicine doctor. And he sits down, he's like, oh, takes a deep breath. And he says, "Okay, you're Mr. Angulo, your father, he has a type of cancer which is called multiple myeloma, bone cancer." And he started to explain everything to us. After clinic, he was there till 6 o'clock, telling us about the diagnosis, telling us about the treatments, telling us about what's next, the oncologist that we're going to be seeing, kind of putting it all out there. And I remember like thinking like, okay, my dad has cancer, but I feel like we have a plan. I feel like something. We all felt relieved. My mom felt like, okay, there's something that we're going to be doing. And, my father, my white coat ceremony, my graduate from medical school, he died in 2012. So he didn't make it to my end of my residency, but we had a good long with him with the treatment that City of Hope had for him. And I always appreciate that. And I always appreciate that day. And, I'm going to fast forward now. I studied here at UC Irvine. I did my residency here in the hospital in UCI off the 5 freeway. And I remember I had a patient who had hepatocellular carcinoma, which is liver cancer. And I was turning in my pager for the night's crew, ready to go. And I was like, you know what? I haven't seen the family yet. I'm going to wait for the family to come in. And I waited 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9. Then nobody was in. And it was a brand new diagnosis. 10. Finally, I said, you know what? It's 10 o'clock. I'm sure they're going to come in tomorrow. I'll be in tomorrow. I had my pager off, have my personal pager with me, and I'm driving home about 20 minutes away from the hospital, about to get home. And my personal pager goes off, says, "Doctor, family here to see you." And I didn't even think twice about turning around and going back to the hospital. After I've been there for 15, 16 hours, didn't even think twice. And I remember going there and thinking, man, how could I not? I mean, someone did this for me. How could I not be in this position, not do it for others? So I got to the hospital, met with the family, sat down, and I stayed there as long, a couple of hours, just explaining everything. And I remember we held hands, we prayed. For me, that was one of the most, just honor to be there. It was an honor to be there and to be welcome in that family and to make sure that patient was plugged in and to make sure that patient had everything that they could possibly have. And for me, it reminds me that whatever we do that's professional comes because of our personal experiences. And that's why when I started, showing the doctors wanted, it all comes from what we've experienced personally. And somebody was there for me, and that's what I want to, that's the doctor that I want to be for others. when somebody's having a really tough time trying to figure out this crazy system, crazy healthcare system, how can I help? How can I plug in? How can I make that call? How can I make sure that we're our patients are feeling comfortable about what they need? And that's where I want to be. And for me, that is the greatest joy in my entire life. I can't believe I have the ability right now to do that. And I still feel like I'm a community college student from East LA, Montebello area, but now we're doing this, and I would do it all in a heartbeat. So with that being said, I'm hoping from this talk that you grab my email and we can start these conversations. I told you a little bit about my story. I really hope that you can share your story. And I'll leave it at that. And if there's any questions or anything like that, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. But I want to thank you so much for your time, because it's a Friday. It's some places it's going to be 9 o'clock. Somebody was in Florida, some places it's going to be 6 o'clock. But I just wanted to say thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Madeline, I'm going to pass it over to you, but if there's any questions, my life's an open book. I don't have a filter. I'm showing you where I work, where I live. This is my house. I'm also, this is my work area, but I'll leave it to you.
We have quite a number of questions actually for you. The first one is, somebody wanted to know, what advice would you give about finding mentors? And during COVID, it's been kind of difficult to find them because of online courses.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great question. Okay, so then okay, so are you ready for this one? This is what I do. This is what I've done all my life. I build a dream team for myself. I call them my dream team. Anybody that inspires you, anybody that motivates you, anybody that's like, oh my gosh, even if it's an online course and somebody's talking, you're like, oh, this person is amazing. Reach out to them. Let them know how they made you feel. Let them know how, like, oh my God, this person just, and put it in an email, put it in, and let people don't do that. They don't do that. They feel that, oh, I don't want to bother this person. But then once you have that email, you put it on like an Excel sheet, and that's part, you're inspired by that person, so that he or she is part of your dream team from now on. And wherever you go, you're always updating them on your journey. Hi, Dr. So-and-so, or hi, Mr. So-and-so, or Mrs. So-and-so. I'm here now. My updates are this. Man, it's great getting updates from students. It's great getting updates on how things are going. Even though I've never met the student personally, the emails keep going. And then at a conference, you're like, oh my God, it's like reading a book, I would do that, and I would build your dream team with people that inspire you throughout the process. Even if they don't respond to you in email, even if they don't contact you, they're part of your dream team. I'll give you an example. And I think people always think like, well, I'm going to email someone, or I need a letter of recommendation, or, I want to make sure. Man, forget about the letter of recommendation. Just get to know that person. Have that person get to know you. The letters of rec will come later. That stuff is the stuff that later on in life that you'll be, you'll say, okay, finally I'm applying to medical school. My journey. Would you be comfortable in writing me a letter of recommendation? Something like that. But it shouldn't be something that's on your mind. You're like, oh, I'm going to contact this person for a letter of rec, and try to keep them up to date for a letter of rec. No, just contact them because they inspired you, and you want to put them on your dream team, and you want to continue this conversation and dialogue with them. I think that's the best way to do it. And it's so holistic. It's so beautiful that I highly recommend it. I hope that
I would also add to this too. If you're going to a community college, you're in much smaller classes. Your teachers, talk to them and tell them your dreams, because they more likely went to school with someone who's a physician, have had former students that are physicians. I, for example, was going to class, and one of my professors said, "Oh yeah, one of my roommates in grad school was a medical student, and he failed. He was almost failing biochemistry, and I was getting a PhD in biochemistry, so I helped him pass. And the guy is now Dr. Jorge Garcia, which Dr. Angulo knows him pretty well.
Yeah.
And so, and then also I had another teacher who's married to a doctor. So they're out there, but you gotta go out there. People gotta know your story.
Yeah.
If your professors don't know you and what your dreams and stories are, if you're at a community college, then you gotta go out there and look. They're not gonna just come to you.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, you know, and that's one thing. That's why I'm trying to encourage you to put your degree on there too, because if you start telling people that, you know what, this is going to happen, I'm gonna get my MD, I'm gonna get my PhD, I'm gonna get beautiful things start happening. You know, at first people think like, you know, like for me, I was a closet pre-med for many years. I didn't tell anybody because I was afraid of the backlash. Oh my goodness, they're gonna try to like attack me and, you know, douse my dreams. But when you put it out there and you have a good support system and you're like, you know what, let's do this, let's go. People will start believing in it big time. They'll start like, yeah, he's the guy that he wants to be a doctor. Let's do it. And that team will get bigger and bigger. Everybody wants to put their chips on you now. You know, that's something that's neat. So Madeline, see, she's going off to medical school, and I feel like, wow, I talked to her last year. It must have been something I said. That's fantastic, Madeline. You know, we all feel like somehow we're connected to Madeline because she's such a success story. But you know, because she's been telling people like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. But no, great advice, Jubin. Oh, I can see the questions. Yeah.
Trinity, you want to ask the next one?
Yeah, sorry, I had to quit in the middle because I had an issue with my computer, so I can only see the most recent ones, but I'll just ask one of them. One of the questions is, what extracurriculars should I be doing as a second-year college student to prepare for med school?
I think, and this is a great question. I think whatever you love to do, what gets you up in the morning and you love doing, and you know, you're like, this is what so I'll give you an example. I was in admissions at UC Irvine for seven years. And I don't know if they're gonna get mad at me. I'm gonna give you the 101 behind all this, okay? So when you're putting together your application, it's an application, the very rare ones are the ones with themes in it. So what I mean by this, okay, those are just beautiful applications, and they rarely come in. Usually we get applications, we get the MCATs, we get the science GPA, yeah, we get that, right? But the ones that come in with the extracurricular activities with a certain theme behind it, and the application has a beautiful theme. So then the usuals that we get is like a sporadic volunteering here, you volunteered there, you did some research here, you did something there, but it doesn't connect, nothing connects, right? So then I always remember this one applicant that was coming in from San Francisco State. And okay, so then, you know, she didn't have the ultimate MCAT, she didn't have the ultimate GPA, but her major was something in the infectious disease world, right? Microbiology, I think. I can't remember exactly, but it was something in that realm. And she volunteered at the Haight Ashbury Clinic, and she also did at UCSF. She went and she did HIV research. So there was like some theme going on there. And then in her personal statement, she talked about how her mother passed away of AIDS. Like, I was like, oh my God, if we get her in our medical school, we're going to have the greatest infectious disease doctor in the entire, we're going to have a Dr. Fauci too. You know, I mean, she's going to come in and just light up the world, right? There was another one that I remember. She was in the East Coast, and everything was that tailored around her was like women's health, and that was her major. Women's studies was her major. She actually had some experience in trying to shadow an OB-GYN or in that women's health realm. She actually went to the call center for what you call it, abused women, and she volunteered a lot of her time there in a home that helped women get just protection. And in her personal statement, she talked about what her passion was, which she was herself was coming from an abusive relationship, and how she wanted to help others. But that theme was like, oh my God, yeah, oh my, amazing. So I can't even imagine wherever she goes or wherever she is, because she's probably now a practicing physician because it was so long ago. She's somewhere just doing amazing work in the wherever she's at in women's health and making sure women are protected. As far myself, everything that I've done has been on pipeline programs, creating programs to help the next generation. I did it at Berkeley. I created one at UC Irvine, but it was never to like, oh, bolster my resume. It was like, we need it. We need to do it. At AltaMed now, I'm the medical director for medical education. And what do? Pipeline programs. We have the undergraduate program, we have our family medicine residency, and we have our leadership programs that we've developed for our doctors. And that program we built in 3 years, and it wasn't around before, but for me, it was something that, oh my God, it's my dream job. So then somebody gave me that opportunity and I took it. So that was my theme when I was applying to medical school, that working on program and pipeline programs to serve the underserved communities. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns, complaints?
We have another question. Do you have any advice for how a non-traditional pre-med student can get shadowing hours?
For AltaMed here in Southern California, we actually offer shadowing for 20 hours, right? Although, shadowing is great, but you can definitely have to have shadowing in order to apply to medical school. I've seen people that have no shadowing or no clinical experience, but have like a 4.0 and have like the amazing Mcats, that they are like, no, we're not going to take this person because they just don't have the experience, right? How do you know what car you're driving, if you haven't driven that car yet, right? So shadowing is the bare minimum. So then on your extracurricular activities, there is and then this is something that I'm gonna tell you the rankings, right? So someone that shadows you get 3 points, right? This is only at the place I used to work. Everybody else has different, but so then if you are at a clinic and you just shadow or just participate, you're 3 points. If you're the leader of something, if you're like managing, or if you're like you're running something at the clinic level or whatever, you're multiple people, you get 4 points. You get 5 points that you created the program, that you just completely this is my baby. I started it. I got funding for it, or I secured it in the clinic. That's like the maximum amount of points that you can get on an application for the volunteer opportunities. But it doesn't have to be in clinic. It could be in church. You went to church. You were a leader in church. No, you actually created something in church that made a big difference in everybody's lives. So I don't know if that makes any. So then back to your question, how I got shadowing is I actually went to the health fairs. I went to the health fairs. There's always doctors there, right? And I made myself as accessible as possible. I did everything I could to make sure that everybody was taken care of. And at the end of the day, I remember going to Dr. Lovato and I'm like, hey, Dr. Lovato, I really want to do this with my life and I want to get that experience. Is there anything in your clinic? I will take out the trash. I will clean your rooms. I will do whatever you want me to do. I'll do it for free because I want this experience. And he said, yeah, absolutely, sure, show up. he showed up. I showed up, and he's like, okay, great. After a while, he's like, I'm going to pay you for this. So I ended up working for him afterward. But just the idea that I'm going to be there doing anything I can. I will like park your patients' cars and come back out. I don't care what it is. I need to be there next to you to learn from you. He didn't have me take out his trash, but I think for me, it was important that he knew that I would do anything to be near him to learn from him. And I think if you're going to have that attitude, how could you not be like, wow, okay, let's do it. As far as AltaMed is concerned, we have a summer pre-med program. Let me give you that. Well, email me.
We posted it.
Oh,
Wow.
oh, you did. Okay, good. So we have a summer pre-med program. All you are invited to. It's in LA, and you get actually $4,000.
$4,000. Yeah.
Yes, $4,000, and you get to spend your summer with me. So we do clinical cases. We do a lot of health equity. We do. We have a lot of professional development. We will work with your personal statements, your extracurriculars, all that stuff, all in 6 weeks. And I'm telling you right now, it's everybody at the end always doesn't want to go, but
It's a pretty tough one because Dr. Angulo wouldn't let me do it. Just kidding. We did a 2-hour presentation on how to gain clinical experience. There are things that you could do that are maybe 16 hours. You could get certified, and you could actually go into a hospital and do things. We did a 2-hour thing, and then also talked about how to just get shadowing and how to cold call. Actually, not cold call, but actually take your resume and a letter to the doctors in your area. And so there's like the whole 2-hour talk you could do. We put the link on there, and you probably the longer conversation. But we talked about like doulas and stuff, and
that's great.
These are things you could easily get and actually get paid like really well. And so there's a lot of things that you could do, but it's a 2-hour conversation and not when we have 17 other questions that are burning.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And yeah, the 2 hours is great. Thank you for doing that, Juben.
The next question we have is someone asked, I want to ask you, when you graduated from UC Berkeley, who helped you after that to pick the bio and chem courses to prepare for the Mcat and medical school?
Oh, I took a prep course. I took I think it was the Princeton Review. Yeah, it's pretty expensive now. It's like how much is it? Like about 4,000 now, I think.
Yeah, it's like 3,000.
3,000. So then for our program, for our HCOP program, the one that we have here, yeah, we actually do fundraisers so all our students could actually get that paid for. It's just crazy. It's not fair, because you're so in medical school, my class was a 60% legacy, 60-70% legacy. What that means is my classmate, their dads or moms are doctors, their grandparents were doctors, their great grandparents were doctors, and I'm coming first generation, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And this is a reason for us to help each other out here, So that's my job. My job is to make sure that I knock down the barriers of people that are coming through the same path that I've gone through, and we want to make it as easy as possible. But I took the prep courses are pretty good, because they focus on that. But I took the Mcat 3 times. I fell asleep on the first one because I didn't get any sleep the night before, so I had to void it, and I thought my career was over after that. I cried like a baby. I couldn't believe that I did that, and I remember looking at the test and all of the words. It was about ducks flying. It was a physics question: ducks flying south for the winter and how fast they're going. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, look at the picture of the cute little ducks, and I was like, oh, it's over, Although I called my brother in tears, and he's like, so now what? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess my career is over. He's like, no, just take it again. I'm like, oh, that's right. I could take it again. So My older brother has been a big coach for me. So yeah. Anyways, other questions?
Okay, one of our other questions is, where did you work at before you started at AltaMed, and what do you think that this? What did you bring from your experiences there to AltaMed?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so then I actually worked. I graduated from Irvine, UC Irvine, the residency. I actually went right into faculty there, so I was a faculty member for 2 years. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring in more people that wanted to serve the underserved. And then I wanted to create a pipeline from our UCI med students, undergraduates, med students into community health centers so they can practice in a community health center setting, because everybody was coming to Irvine and then going off and, Kaiser, healthcare partners, which is now Optima, but all these other places, they'd graduate and go, and these poor community health centers that actually served all the underserved communities weren't getting these docs coming back. So I'm like, oh, I'll do that. And it just, I felt like if I was a sinking ship. I felt like, wow, I love Irvine, but it was like, it wasn't in their mission statement to do that. They're like, you could do that, but on the weekends. And so I ended up working 7 days a week, 5 days of, programmatic and, all the things I need to do in medical school. And then on the weekends, I would do the pipeline program thing and pay for it out of my pocket. So after 2 years, it just gets too much. And I'm like, wow, maybe I need a little more leadership experience. So then I hopped over to a actual community health center in Santa Ana, and I became the chief medical officer there. And I did that for 2 years, and I learned a lot. And the reason why I actually left from those 2 years there is because AltaMed is doing the exact same thing I wanted to do at Irvine. AltaMed was saying, let's build a medical education department. Let's put a residency in there. Let's put pipeline programs, and we will pay for it. Not only will we pay for everything, this will be your job, and you can have your weekends off. And I was like, oh my God, this is like my dream job. So I brought my whole crew, my everybody that was working at me at the time at Irvine. I said, okay, we got a whole new location. And then this place, AltaMed, it's a pretty magical place because everybody's there. Like, it seems like the CCM or the Latino Medical Student Association, it seems like a conference broke out there. Our COO, he's, I remember him from medical school. He's running the show there at AltaMed. The CMO is an old LMSA graduate, also running it, running it at AltaMed. Everybody there seems like family. So I'm sticking my flag on this hill, and I'm like, I'm loving life right now. I feel like I'm going to retire here. I can't do it by myself. It's just too tough. And I think a lot of us end up going to places and kind of like, working as faculty and not having that support. AltaMed is the first place that I've ever felt like, wow, there is a lot of support for me. It's like I feel like I'm at playing for the LA Dodgers or the New York Yankees. No.
Yeah, and I think I would just add this is Dr. Angulo has been doing this for a while, and the thing about medicine, if you do something long enough, people know you've been doing it. So they came looking for him. But ultimately, yes, he had to go to medical school and do a residency, because without that, that's what I think the question was asking, how do you get to where your position is? And and he chose this niche in his job, but he had to go to medical school and do all that good stuff to be a physician, because you do see patients. You don't just do pipeline programs. You do pipeline programs for fun, but what pays the bill is your.
Well, then I'm gonna. So then I used to see patients full time, but there's so many pipeline programs now that my patient care is now to 1 day a week, and 4 days as pipeline programs. But that's what I'm saying, that this AltaMed, this place values what we do so much that they're like, no, you know, and for me, it's fantastic because I still see my patients, Senora Sanchez, Senora Jimenez. I have to, or else I will be clinically irrelevant, right? I mean, I'll forget. If you don't do it, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? But the other 4 days, I'll have a team with me and we're running over 40 programs. And there's no way that I can see patients all the time and run those 40 programs. So it's kind of neat because as a physician, you could job craft. And that's something that I'm showing people to do in our organization. Build your dream job. You know, if it's seeing patients 5 days out of the week, then do it. Go for it. They're all there for you. We'll support you with what you need a scribe. We'll get you a scribe, whatever you want to do. But if they're like, oh, but I also love, you know, doing a little bit of research over here and doing women's health here, and then studies over here. Okay, let's start building that out for you. So, you know, how do we find that funding for you to, you know, maybe do 3 days of patient care and 2 days of, like Jubin says, the stuff that's going to keep you, you know, like, oh, like that, it's going to refresh you. Just imagine doing science courses all the time in undergraduate. I couldn't imagine that. I had to have my ethnic studies course here, my, you know, something to break the monotony of all the science courses, right? I mean, some of you are, I'm assuming that you know, there's a few of you that are like, no, I love science. That's all I do, right? That's great though. Keep doing that. But, you know, if you do it, you have to have the, you know, you make sure that you have the things that you love to do in there, you know, as well. I love seeing patients, but I love building programs, you know, so best of all worlds. Question, any other questions? Man, they just keep on adding. I saw 6 stats.
We have another one that asks, how can I avoid burnout while I embark on my pre-med journey?
Yeah, I mean, and then I feel you. I feel you. I see you. I feel you. I hear you. You matter. And it's, you know, burnout in medicine, I think is a little bit, you know, once again, it's could be in the same category as burnout as a pre-med or pre-health. Where are you at? Well, we can't ask them where they are in their career, but what I did was I didn't have science as my core measure. I mean, like all my classes, I had to break it up, like I was saying. But I also wanted to make sure I was getting some great advice and making sure I had a plan and making sure I had breaks. And I think for us, the main thing that I've seen with people with pre-meds, especially, is this idea. And number one thing, and I know that all of you, Madeline and Jubin and Trinity can attest to this, is like this feeling of feeling behind, right? That kills. Oh my God. I remember, you know, feeling like, wow, this person got in. When is it my turn? Wow, that person got in. Oh, I'm so behind. You know, man, I was in anatomy lab my first year of medical school when I was 36. I remember you know, dissecting the heart, the lungs when I was 36, you know. I had to take that out of my mind, like the whole like feeling behind. It's a very powerful feeling, and it's distressing. It really is. It puts you on edge. You feel like, oh, I just better hurry up. And then if you start hurrying up, all of a sudden these classes start tumbling, and I'm like, oh man, I got 2 D's and a C. How did that? And you start tripling up on classes because you want to catch up. Those are the times when you like put the brakes on and say, okay, hold on, let me reorganize myself with the plan. But
I would just also add, it's really important to build community, and community that is people that cherish you and support you and also tell you straight up if you're doing something wrong. And lastly, there's no problem with going to mental health. And I think one of the big things with the CARE Act is that a lot of funding has been given to a lot of the community colleges. And so there's a lot of access to mental health, and there's no shame in going and asking and talking to someone who's a professional, and
absolutely,
having that in your community, because there's a lot of resources out there, but if you're not, don't suffer in silence. And the nice thing is that nobody will know because it's a private medical record, so nobody will have access to it. But by all means, like if you're burning out, you're stressed, there are professionals, and your friends, although they may be supportive of you, they're not a professional. Just kind of like if I have diabetes and heart disease, I'm not going to my neighbor or my friend. I'm going to Dr. Angulo to say, okay, what do I need to do? Give me the prescription, give me the therapies that I need to deal with my diabetes, my heart disease, I don't know, think of another disease.
Yeah. Well, no, but
Cancer, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, you're on it right. You're spot on. I think that you want someone that's not going to be have that subjective feel like that, that's going to be away from, and it can actually be there for you as a coach. Absolutely. So friends and family are great to have that support, but not for therapy. Yeah.
One of our next questions is, what advice do you have for a 30-plus-year-old applicant who has a lower GPA? And then also kind of the same question, they work in a low-income high school right now, and a lot of their students want to go into medicine. And do you have any advice for their students?
So then if I understood the question, somebody's applying to, or going to be applying to medical school, and they have a low GPA right now, lower than average GPA. Yeah, that's number one, right? And then number two is that person has students in high school or in that they're to prepare them.
Yes, they teach at a low-income high school, and they want to know if you have any tips for their students who want to go into medicine.
Yeah, I mean, the first one is definitely sitting down with someone that you trust and kind of going over your whole like how the package looks, how you look. I call it like you know how you go to some people go to a financial advisor, like when they're like, oh, let me see how my finances are doing. That's something, the pre-health advisor is somebody that should be doing that, hopefully. But here's the thing, that not all pre-health advisors are created equal. So getting one that you trust with your life, because boy, I've had my first pre-health advisor that I went to, she was so discouraging. And she's like, oh, you're so old and you're not going to get in, I guess she was trying to save me, but, from like, taking a long, winded career, like that I would never make. But finding the right people, I think, is the most important thing. I'm going to put it out there. If it's something that's, I hope I see you this next summer, because then we would work together on that. And we actually do portfolios for all our students and see where you're at and kind of coach you through that process. Whether it's, you're ready to apply next year, the following year, or the following year, we'll have a plan for you, right? And I'm almost hesitant to even put it on here because I don't want to plug it, but we do .me. We do there is some holistic pre-health advising with www.prehealth.me that I don't really publicize much, but if it's something that you want to learn about, it's you can find a lot of resources with a lot of caring people there. But I'm not, just want to make sure you have someone to go to. Yeah.
Yeah, we had people that started, a lot of people in their 30s. Dr. Angulo was 36. We had somebody who was 50 years old who started medical school. We're going to have somebody who's 47. We've had a surgery resident who started at 34, and she's in her 40s now in residency. So, and I think the average national age is 28. So
yeah, it's great though, because you add so much to the class. Like, honestly, it's just wonderful. And you have your youngins there, and you have people that are, and one of the people that was in my admissions committee, she started when she was 50. She was an ophthalmologist. And that question got posed. Somebody said, hey, this applicant's this age. And our dean of admissions at the time goes, okay, hey, Mary, how old were you when you started medical school? Like 50. He's like, all right, good. So it was like everybody was good, but she just did it for like, just to make a point. But all are welcome. It's never too old. Yeah. I don't. The last question. I'll just be brief. It's definitely keeping them pipeline programs. Your visibility, making sure that they know that that's possible. I'm going to be a board member for this place called KidWorks over in Orange County, and I'd love that. I'm going to be participating in there because a lot of people that work there are social workers and they're teachers, and it's the kids that go through this after school program. The majority of the kids, they've just been going for years. Guess what their profession is after they graduate from kids work and graduate from college? Their profession is social workers and teachers, because that's who their mentors are and their role models, which is great. But for me, I definitely want to make sure that they know that they can become physicians. So I'm happy to work with them all the way through the process. They have to start believing in it. My niece, I put a white coat on her every time I see her. Oh my God, let me go grab it. And I put a little stethoscope on her and I have a picture of her. Anyways, any other questions?
Another one we have is pursuing nursing before medicine a waste of time?
Well, I mean, it should be what you want to do, right? So I used to think that I'm going to get my medical assistance license and I'm going to go into LVN and I'm going to go to RN, and then from RN I'm going to go to MD. That's not the way it works. If you want to be a nurse, which is different than becoming a physician or what you call a nurse practitioner or PA, but you have to become a nurse to become a nurse practitioner. Then I would go into a provider first if that's what you want to do. I wouldn't even.
Dr. Angulo, I just want to add this. There's been this misnomer out there that for you to get clinical experience from medical school, you should go become a nurse and then take all your prereqs and then apply to medical school to get clinical experience.
I'm glad you're talking about it. Did you even know? I mean, it's even shorter if you don't do that. Your pathway is even shorter.
Yeah, there's this. It's weird because we've been seeing it, and I actually did a little search on all of these chat rooms, and it's people are saying, yes, you should go get your nursing degree to have clinical experience and then go back and finish your prereqs. And it's like, we had somebody who did that, but she said like it literally took her 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years, directed 10 years away from practicing medicine, where she's actually doing orthopedic surgery. She was losing $500,000. So she lost like $5 million in that 10 years. For going and becoming a nurse, because once you're a nurse, you gotta like do all your nursing stuff because you want to get a job because you have all of these bills, and so
it's a whole
so this is like a misnomer that's been out there, and we've been trying to squat it down, but it keeps coming up.
That's a good question though. I'm glad they asked it so that we could talk about it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Boy, are we 14 questions, is that right?
So what do you think about taking STEM prereqs at community college? Physics, bio, Chem, and OChem.
I love it. I love and then sometimes when you sit down with someone and kind of go over the plan, and we used to like, okay, I'll give you, so then even Berkeley students would come in, and I'll tell you, maybe it's changed, but back in the day, physics was just the worst course at Berkeley, worst course ever. And what we would say is like, you know what, why don't there's a great college down the street that had a great professor, take your physics there, right? But then still do all your other sciences, at Berkeley. There would be nothing, like nobody would be like, once again, you're taking the Mcat, that's the all equalizer, right? Just do well in them, right? Smaller classes. I'm a big fan. In fact, and then this is all I want to say. We've had students that have graduated from Berkeley with less than a 2.0 in their sciences, less than a 2.0. And then we've sat down with them and said, okay, look, and they're like, my career is over. This and I'm not, no, start with community college, build up your self-esteem and build up your post-bac GPA, right? And then they go to community college. They're there taking physics, organic chemistry, general chemistry, and biology. They do that. And then what medical school is going to see is like, great, these are lower division courses. How did you do with your upper division courses? So then what the student did was go into East Bay, Cal State East Bay, and did I think a year or year and a half of upper division coursework. And lo and behold, when this person that had less than a 2.0 MCB GPA, when this person applied to medical school, she got into my medical school, which is Irvine, and I got heartbroken that she went to UCSF. How does that happen? I'm very proud of this person, but I mean, you know, they had a plan, and I think for medical school, it's not the fact that you're trying to be like, they're trying to be like very like, if they have a D or a C or an F, that's it, it's over. It's think about it this way. I have a seat to give in my medical school, and it costs at Irvine, it's going to cost about $115,000 or $130,000 to fill that seat. If that student comes in and doesn't finish medical school, then I have to flip the bill for that, right? So then what they're looking at is like, are they in a stable place? Do they know how to study? Did they figure it out? Did they figure out how to study, how to do great? Boom, then we'll take them, right? So that's why this person that had that, we knew that they were ready to go because something had happened at Berkeley that they weren't prepared, but now they are. And it's like, what have you done for me lately? That's the big deal. What have you done for me lately? So,
and to answer that, we had 16 deans of admission from Hopkins, Stanford, UCI, UCLA. We've asked every single person that question, and we have them on the record, and we actually made a 1-minute video answering that question. Most medical schools recognize your classes that you've taken at a community college, and so you should not stop, you know, and whoever tells you that, they don't know what they're saying and don't listen to them. So we've got like 16 deans of admission from from medical schools that have said otherwise. So you could listen to the deans, or you could listen to whoever gives you that bad advice.
yeah, I like that. I'm glad you're covering that. I'm glad you got them on record now. That's awesome. What more questions? I thought we answered
when should I start studying for the Mcat? Also, how can I stand out in my medical school application?
Okay, so then the Mcat, when you take your physics, your bio, your organic chemistry, all that stuff, you're already studying for it. Learn those topics really well. Get into it. Enjoy it. It'll make life easier. And then after you do that, take care of your GPA. Once again, if you're a person that can take 2 or 3 science classes at the same time and do great, more power to you. I was not. I had to space everything out. I really did. I had to do like, okay, I'm taking bio, and I'll just put other classes that I know that that I'm gonna have fun with, but just focus on bio, because if I learn that really well, then it's even easier when I study for the Mcat, right? It's not a race. Quality over quantity, but there are some people that, could take 17, 18, 19, 20 units. At community college, I actually took 12 units all the time, 12 units, but I made sure I got the 4.0 or something cleared near that, because I knew that it was going to count for my next steps. And the other question was, so the application, I think I said it earlier, having a theme. I think that's what's missing in when people apply to medical school. It's like a checklist. It becomes a checklist, and people are like, oh, did you do your research? Did you do this? Did you do that? And you can really tell when it's put together like a checklist. So what we do when we do the portfolios is we start thinking about that theme for that student. And sometimes the theme is there, but most of the time the theme is there, but they don't realize it because they live it. And we have a lot of great people in our advising that pull those themes out and say, hey, look, what I'm seeing is that you do this, and they're like, oh, yes, that's it. So for us to put that application together, it's a lot easier. Yeah, have a theme.
One of our next questions is, do you have any advice for a non-traditional older applicant and how to navigate the medical school world as someone who's much older than the rest of their peers?
Oh, and in medical school, when you're in medical school, how to navigate that? It's definitely everybody's welcoming. Of course, everybody's welcome. Everybody wants to make sure that, and I think that it was always, there is definitely a generation gap. And I always did my best to participate with my classmates, in what they were doing. I think I threw myself in. I wanted to make sure that I was experiencing the med school life as much as anybody else was. But there's times when you're like, I think I'm going to step back a little bit. And you could, because, I was 36 now. Yeah, I graduated when I was 41. So the recovery of like after the test party for me was a little slower. So I'm like, okay, guys, I gotta, I'm going. You continue doing what you do, but I think everybody understood. I never felt anything different, and I had a few even females in my class that were my age as well. That we also hung out together as well. Too. So then you find your group. Although I did have the Prime LC, the Program in Medical Education for the Latino community, and I found that was my cohort there, and we had that going on. But it's great. You're gonna have so much fun, and you're gonna have so many times. And the last thing I'll say, because I'm 6:30 and I don't want to. I remember going home for lunch, and I had just finished anatomy, and my hands smelled like formaldehyde even after I took off my gloves. I double gloved and I still smell like formaldehyde. And I remember going home, making a sandwich, and I remember biting into it, and that smell of formaldehyde, I'm like, oh my goodness. And it was the most beautiful smell for me because I knew that I was in medical school, and I knew that I was okay. So then 99% of the people in medical school graduate. So then they have a whole saying, look to the left, look to the right. You're probably going to marry that person if you don't have someone already. And that's just the way it is. And sure enough, everybody in medical school, people that were, that were single, ended up together. And I've gone to so many weddings from my my medical school class. It's crazy, that have met in my medical school. So it's different than pre-med. Let me tell you, it's tough, but it's definitely a family. Yeah. I'm probably, it's already 6:30. I don't want to take up much more time, and I want to give you back a little bit of time. I think we went half an hour more, but but I wanted to thank you for having me here.
Yeah, no. Yeah, if you have to go, I understand. I've tried to answer some of the questions that I know. Some of them were like, why did you get a master's? And why did you get a master's? Because it was part of your program.
It was part of the program, yeah, but it was a great, oh my God, it was right in the middle of medical school, and it was a great way to like kind of slow down, see where I was, and I love it. I recommend it. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just I basically say it was part of your prime program. How do you maintain your energy? I think that's just genetic. I think that's just, I've known him for a long time, and he's always been hyper.
But I think it's loving what you do, right? I think I mean, I'm not, believe me, I don't get I'm just telling you, like, I would do it all over again. I would really do it all over again.
Somebody wanted to ask you, how did you get into Berkeley and then medical school? And I think you talked about that, but going from community college to Berkeley just required the grades.
Yeah, 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 I got into UCLA and UC Berkeley, and my whole family, my older brother went to UCLA, but he definitely pushed Berkeley. And then I went to go see it, and I was like, oh my God, this campus is amazing. So Madeline, we could have been classmates. No. Now we cheer for opposites teams when they play in football. So no.
Well, UCLA is leaving to
I
go to
know.
the Big
It's so
Ten,
sad.
so
We usually have a big tailgate with all of us. Even in AltaMed, it's going to be gone. Our tailgate's going to be Kaiser and AltaMed get together for the big UCLA Cal game, and it's going to be no longer. I'm so sad about that.
somebody asked you about study tips in medical school. I think that for undergraduate, we've done like 5 or 6
Mm,
sessions
yeah,
for study tips,
yeah,
but just give like one thing that you did.
absolutely. So then for community college, it was it was the book. I got to learn the book because they really teach out of the book, unless you have a professor that does it on their own. But when I went to a 4-year at Cal, my God, the book is useless. Good for reference, but it's the professor's notes. Whatever they say is gold, and whatever they say is going to be on the test. And then I hit office hours. So then anything I didn't understand, I would ask the professor in office hours. I'm like, wait, you meant this? Did you? And then they would say, oh, that's very important. I'd be like, oh, it's gonna be on the test. Or if they would say, yeah, but don't worry about that. That's not very important. I'd be like, good, one less thing I have to worry about for the test. So that's how I did it, and got to kind of like to know the professor that way. It was really important for me to go to office hours. Yeah.
Um, the other question, this is somebody that asked about they are a foreign physician from another country, and they want to know what kind of positions AltaMed has or that could help someone
Yeah.
get those things.
UCLA has a program for foreign medical students to come and do their time here, so they can get placed in a residency, or you can just apply straight in. Our family medicine residency is, I know that wasn't the question, but our family medicine residency actually, if you were heart is in the underserved community, we will definitely want to see you and interview you and see where meet the person that has the heart in the community. We have 2 or 3 people from St. George in our residency program. They're fantastic, amazing residents. They're not medical students anymore. But to answer your question, for right now, we would have to have a partnership with your school, and that takes a little bit to get. And I don't know where we're at with that. So
I
for us, it would be a
think
little
she's
bit
an I think she's an IMG.
yeah. So then, but it would then the best thing would be to apply in a match, or to bolster herself up at the UCLA program that they have.
Yeah, put the
Um,
link in there.
yeah.
So how did you study for chem classes, and tell them the one thing that you would talk in front of I remember you told me the story of when you would recite your lectures to yourself.
Oh yeah, no, I would take up a big board, and I have a lot of whiteboards everywhere, so I would do my work here in the whiteboard, or I would actually at Berkeley, I would actually go into it's called Valley Life Science Building 2040, where we had our big lectures, or 2050, and I would actually at nights take over all the boards and then put them up, and that's where I would say, oh, this is for Senora Sanchez, Senor Jimenez, all the mechanisms for organic chemistry. And it was great because it was very empowering, because I knew I studied there. I knew I loved it there. So when I had my test there, it was my home. I was like, this is I was like barefoot here yesterday, or I rested and slept down right here on the floor, so this was my home. So it was pretty it was pretty nice. So that I love the big whiteboards and kind of pretending that I have an audience in back of me and just kind of talking to the problems. Yeah.
So somebody said, and I typed an answer, but I want to hear from your thing. Since doctors need sense, is it true that organic chemistry is the bane of all pre-med courses? I would just add that organic chemistry, Mcat, biochem, all of these things are bane. And how it's like, how bad do you want to be that person in the room, or putting your
Yeah.
heart on that patient, hand on that patient's heart?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, no, no.
so
I love, and I love that answer. And I think that uh, it, I loved it. I loved organic chemistry, right? And I was told the same thing too, that oh, this is everybody's gonna, do terrible with it, but it's the amount of time you spend with it. It's the amount of time that you really get. So then organic chemistry has a lot of the visual, right? And that's why you have the molecular sets and the kits. If you don't spend time with those things, if you don't like try to look at it and like look at the different angles, then forget it, right? Or the reactions. If you're gonna memorize all these reactions like a day before the exam, well, yes, I would be scared too. But if you're putting in the time and you're like, going to office hours and learning and getting it down, then it becomes a really fun course. And like Juven was saying, if you do that same effort with molecular and cell biology, with physics, then you're going to start getting it and loving it. Nothing hurts more than when you don't get it and you have no idea what's going on. Nothing feels more beautiful than when you're like, I totally get it. Oh my God, this is fantastic. So I definitely put time into it. I would definitely put time into it.
yeah, and then the other question was, this is a burning question. That means that it's burning somewhere. How did you work during medical schools? Finances are a bit scary. Can you talk a
No
little bit about that?
way. There's no way. You cannot work through medicals. There's no way. I mean, I couldn't.
And you're
Maybe you
not
can.
rich. And you're not
No,
rich.
no. And I'll be honest with you. I took out loans. I got grants, whatever I did. Um, that I gotta tell you, and I'll be honest with you, the public student loan forgiveness, it's the real deal. I've worked 10 years in a community health center and they were like, okay, you're done. We're taking care of you. And I did not believe that they were going to do that. I was like, well, maybe it happens, it doesn't. I'll pay back my loans later. All of a sudden, I'm thank you. Thank you, Biden. So it's something I don't have to worry about anymore. And I'm just wanting to let you know that it's all there, it's all possible. Not only that, the Stephen Thompson, you have the it's like a $130,000 scholarship. You have
California Care,
California Care.
$300,000.
$300,000. Man, it's just so then that's another thing that we do at AltaMed. We have a department that hooks up our docs to make sure that they're all plugged into all of these scholarships and things like that.
And this is a question I always ask most speakers, and I feel comfortable enough asking you, is have you, since you've been a doctor with all the loans and everything, have you ever starved? Have you ever been homeless? Have you
No.
ever struggled?
No.
Have you ever
No.
like any issues that you've had? Were you never not able to pay your loans or have food in your stomach, drive, be able to buy a car?
You're gonna be more than fine. I never did it for the pay. I really didn't. I never did it for the paycheck. I mean, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart. But once again, if you're working at, this is something for AltaMed that we believe in. If you're giving your life to the underserved, then we need to reward you appropriately. It's not going to be a place where you're like, wow, you're working for a community health center, so you got to take a paycheck and cut, and we can't make the Kaiser money. No, we have to make sure to honor and to uphold and to make sure these docs that are committing themselves to the underserved community, have that opportunity to make sure that they're getting rewarded, because it's a tough job. It really is, to make sure that patients are taken care of, and that's why we need all of you here. I hope I see all of you in the summer. Man, that'd be nice.
So the last question is, and this is a plug that I'm going to make, is they want to know, as a first-year community college student, what they should do to study for the MCAT.
I mean, at this point right now, you can start thinking about the MCAT just with your classes. All the classes that you take, that's it. Don't even open up a MCAT study book. Believe me, the MCAT is a beast in itself, and it's going to need its own time to study for that. It's not something that you do on the side and, you know, kind of get better. You need the dedicated time because it's a different way of doing things. I call it MCAT speak. The passages look like science, like literature, you know, passages, and you're like, what are they asking? But it's all in there. And you got to figure out, are they asking a tart question? Are they asking a, you know, buoyancy question? And the more you do, the better you get, though. So you don't want to be studying for your physics and your general chem and your OChem at the same time where you're trying to, you know, get this beast going on. So I would definitely hold off, get to know your basics first,
Yeah.
and then go to the MCAT.
And we had actually had somebody who's a master MCAT teacher who actually like does this for a living. He did a 2-hour presentation on how to study for the MCAT as a first and second year undergraduate.
Oh, man.
And also he'd done another hour and a half. So go watch those videos, because even though I love Dr. Angulo, he is, and he did well on his MCAT, there's people that are experts at that.
Oh yeah. Hey Jubin, what's that? Oh, I was gonna say, where's the website?
It's in the chat. I put all the links in
All
there.
right, perfect.
Yeah, no, we've got like 15 or 16 deans of admission. Go here, you know, everybody asks the secret sauce. They'll tell you the secret sauce of every single of their schools. The dean of UCI actually said what he likes to read on the essays. Like, just put in the time and to find out like what, you know, those are all information that are out there, and watch them. And we actually even made some of these videos into like 1 minute. So you could watch it on our, you know, Instagram, you know, while you're standing in line, and they have really good advice, and we try to cut them in to 1 hour. So, I mean, 1 minute. So,
Yes,
but
that's wonderful.
it was really good seeing you, my friend.
Great seeing you.